All right. So first, I'm gonna say that you know of the seven deadly sins, I think jealousy is the most deadliest because a jealous person can be very unpredictable and can be very manipulating and very violent. If and when they choose to be. Most jealous people are very premeditated. Most of them that are jealous are actually scared of you. But it's no limits as to what a jealous person will do to you. But most of them, most of the damage that they do is usually the venom they speak to others. So it's the indirect damage that most jealous people do to you because they're actually scared of you. They're terrified of you because most of them are cowards. And these are facts. I myself, for whatever ancestral reason, don't have a jealous bone in my body. I've never had it. It's just not in me. Not in my DNA. I don't have it, you know. But it's never stopped subhumans from being jealous of me. And in this new old world, things don't have to be reciprocated, meaning do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. Uh, Nobody even lives by that no more, you know. Uh, people will hate you that don't know you. But the people that know you, some of them will hate you the most and will hide it for years. And I'm speaking on this because I am a former athlete, been an athlete all my life. My dad was an athlete. My aunties, my mom, my uncles, I pretty much on both sides came from athletes. So it's in me. And I've I was pretty good at whatever I picked up, like whatever I put my hands on. Um, so for me, I seen jealousy the most in sports, right? Early on in life. Later on, it was from relatives, and other folks too. But early on, it was sports, um, fights and stuff like that. Uh, so that was my first examples of it. So I say this to say, or to give you a precursor to what I really want to talk about, and it's uh, Carmelo Anthony and Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells and Carmelo Anthony. Um, I personally think both incidents were premeditated because of what I just explained to you. With Carmelo Anthony, those guys played against him all through high school, so they knew him. You know, especially when you play multiple sports, that's when the jealousy really gets thick. So these two incidents are very near and dear to my heart because I can relate to both of them because I've went to predominantly all black schools. I mean, my black school was like East Side High. I mean, really real, yeah. And I went to a high school with 2,500 students, and maybe 5 or 6 were black, and that's including the halves and the quarters. Yeah. So I understand what they both went through. Carmelo's case, I had some guys on my high school team that I thought, I thought all the guys were pretty cool. I mean, I pretty much got along with everybody. So I thought, right? So, and this school is predominantly white. This is the predominantly white school. I won't call a name. We went on a little camping trip. We were going to camp out. And this is in Colorado, by the way. So me growing up, I grew up on a farm on both sides. My mom and dad, they both had farms. I've been hunting since I was 4 years old. So being outdoors is second nature to me, right? So, so we're out and it's dark when we go out there, right? And, some of the guys are a little scary or whatever, and I'm not really saying much, right? So one of the guys kind of starts with me a little bit. It's like, they call me Bubba, like Bubba from Forrest Gump. Hey, Bubba, why you so quiet? Are you scared? I said, no, I ain't scared. I said, I feel right at home, like in the woods, night, day, whenever. He was like, is your light bright enough? And I'm like, I don't really need a light. Like, it's bright out here because Colorado don't have very many trees. So the moon and stuff, if the moon's out, you can see good. Because my dad taught me, your eyes will adjust, in the dark. Just stay calm, your eyes will adjust. So I'm looking around and, just making sure it ain't, because I know in Colorado they got mountain lions, even, because it was in the wintertime, so that was about the only thing out there. And we were right kind of like next to a little creek or something. And, I told him, I said, no, I'm not scared, I'm good. And he kind of like starts going in on me, trying to like crack little jokes, say little slick stuff, and I'm right back at it, I'm quick with it, dirty dozens, whatever, So I'm getting the best of him, right? And this is a European boy, white boy, whatever you want to call him. And actually, he was Mormon. That was his religion. He starts, just kind of goes off on a tantrum and starts talking about like sports. We played football together. And he wrestled. I didn't wrestle because I told him I don't want a dude in underwear sweating on me. I don't get down like that. I play basketball during wrestling season. So I'm like, nah, that's not my sport, So he tries to, go in on me about that, and I'm going into him, like, you around there, you playing a sport with spandex and sweaty men, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. So, but I start sensing a lot of emotions in his comebacks, and I'm out there, I'm the only black guy. It must have been like 5 or 6 of us, I guess, and we kind of all live around each other, also. And finally, he just lets the cat out of the bag, and tries to, like, grab me. And he's a wrestler, but fighting ain't nothing to me. So, he come at me or whatever, and we tussling, and I put him on his back. You know what I'm saying? And I think, okay, that's done. That's over with, Then he's like, oh, come on, let's go for another round. I'm like, nah, man, chill out. Like, it's getting dark. Let's set the tent up. You know what I'm saying? Let's get settled in or whatever. Get a fire going. Like, I'm on some real, like, survival stuff. Like, cut out the horse plant. You know what I'm saying? His temper steady going up because he feeling played. I've been driving him with my tongue, lashing him at every little cut down he do. I double down on him. Then when it comes to something physical, I put him on his ass. So he in his feelings, deep in his feelings. Starts kind of trying to go in on me about something in football or whatever. Because I literally had a 55-gallon bag full of recruiting letters. I could have literally went anywhere in the country. And he only got letters for like most of the little local colleges in Colorado. So, he was just trying to, he really let all his jealousy out. Like, it came out. He couldn't hide it no more. And he attempted to, like, fight me. And by this time, like, another guy steps in, another white guy, because I'm the only black guy, steps in and, like, chill out, dude, and kind of, tell him he's tripping and kind of get on him, like, hey, Broderick ain't with that. Like, you tripping, man. You wrong. Like, chill out. We ain't out here for that. Like, where's all this coming from? Then another couple guys get on him too, like, chill out, bro. So finally, he calms down. Later that morning, he apologizes to me, but you let the cat out of the bag, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. Like, we ain't like that. Me and you ain't rocking like that. That's in stone right now. So I say that because the stuff that happened to KARMELO, it could have happened to me that night. Could have happened to me. Could have went either way. But I had a pocket knife. In the outdoors or whenever I'm at home, in the yard or whatever, I've always been taught since I was 4 years. I got my first knife. My daddy gave me my first knife when I was 4 years old. I've always been taught to keep a knife. Never know when you might need it. So I had a knife on me. Matter of fact, it was my great-grandfather's knife. Case knife. His old case knife. And it was sharp as hell. So I could have been KARMELO, or I could have been NOLAN. And I don't think people really understand the significance of jealousy in sports and racism. It's very difficult for a melanated person to get a fair shot in this land, period, at anything. In sports, it's a little different, right? You get a little exposure and they can't really blanket you, right? But if they really want you to fail, they will plan a mission. And they will carry that mission out to a T for you to fail as a melanated young man. And for those of you who say, oh, no, I don't want to hear that. The alphabets have killed many of great melanated men and made it look like an accident, or they had a fall guy, you know, but it was the powers that be who really did it. And you find out years later, some alphabet guy on his deathbed confesses, you know. So I could have been either one in that night. And we weren't drinking or none of that, you know. But it still could have happened. I think they planned that with KARMELO. They thought they were just going to beat him up because they were bigger. They had the numbers. They set him up to invite him under the tent. It was all that stuff's all premeditated. All premeditated. Who lets all the witnesses go from a murder scene? Everybody. But supposedly the actual person that committed the murder, allegedly. But everybody else is free to go. But the only person that turned themselves in was the person who allegedly committed the murder. And we've now found out that every tier of the alphabets are corrupt. It's all in the plan, man. They all knew each other. Not very many coincidences in this life for us. Okay, story about, or not a story, the facts of the Nolan Wells incident. And my heart goes out to both sets of parents. I lost my dad when I was 12, so I'm gonna get through this. So I had told my partner, and I actually put it on in a comment. I forget under which YouTuber I commented on, but I had told my partner, and this was about a week ago, a little over a week. I told him, I said, when they were talking about the GPS of the boat, I said, man, they killed him on that boat. And that was, that's 7-8 days ago. That's before all the new recording came out, or the cleared up recording came out. I told my partner, though, I said, man, they killed Nolan on that boat, but is somebody missing? All that was premeditated. Even Plies, he just very abruptly looked at a clip of all the boats and stuff out there, and he was like looking at the flags. He was like, looks like a Klan rally. Man, all that stuff was premeditated and ritualistic. This guy I subscribe to, I won't call his name because I'm not one of these famous folks. But he's a brother from the Crescent City, and he found some information of ritualistic drawings, and he presented videos of the news channel talking about doing ritualistic dancing around the fire on this island. And that is a federal island. So, let me get back to my point. I told my partner, I said, they killed him on that boat. I said, first of all, I think he was bigger than all of them. But from that autopsy, in the back of the head, if you look at it, it looks like he was hit with something, like a broom handle, a mop, or some long linear object to go across the back of the bottom of your skull. And the throat just so happened to not be sent to the private autopsy, and the lungs, which is what you need the most to determine anything really in the water, your throat and your lungs. So, but we all know where that's going. So I told my partner, I said, they probably hit him in the back of the head, because they said no other bruising or broken bones or nowhere else. So they hit him in the back of the head, boom, stunned him. And then they start choking him, or they may have punched him. A lot of people don't know. You can punch somebody in the throat and it'll swell up and they'll choke of asphyxiation, just punching them in the throat hard enough. And I told them, I said, man, somebody is missing, because that boat went all around, all over, to say it was supposedly failing. And a bilge pump, if a bilge pump is not pumping properly, then you got to go get another bilge pump. Unless it was clogged up and they unclogged it. But still, if it was taking on that much water, it meant that it was too many people on the boat. The boat was overcapacitated. too many people on the boat. And then all the rest of the 911 tapes, more of it came out with them saying, oh, they didn't want the Coast Guard to come. And then we found out today, or I found out today, that they call, his name's, I think, Warren, the one named Warren, called his pawpaw. Yeah, and supposedly his pawpaw has a few coins. But I had told my partner, I said, those boys, after they killed Nolan, had to contact somebody and let them know they've succeeded and to commence the second part of this operation, which is cleanup. Stash the body somewhere until the heat dies down. The little half black subhuman said on his interview with Officer Sambo that they were ready to go that morning and go searching for him, but instead they went to McDonald's. I have white friends. I got Mexican partners that I consider my brothers. I mean, closer than my brother. And I'm going to talk about that when I finish addressing this Nolan Wells thing. So, as I told my partner, I said they had to call somebody, and they had to have somebody on the inside with that boat towing service. And because they rented that boat. All that people got money. Why are you going to rent a boat? I ain't use one. I'm sure y'all got some boats. I know some friends that's got boats. I'm sure of it. Why are you going to rent a boat? It's like I told him. I said, man, it's something up with that boating company. And they met somebody whenever they parked that boat. They had the real, true, God-fearing plan on that dock waiting on them. Clean that boat up, give them orders, what to do, where to stash the body at, when to put it out there. They had to stash the body somewhere close on the island. Had to. It was too much going on for them to stash it 30, 40 minutes away. It had to be somewhere quick. And whoever put that body out there, not one of them teenagers. So it was multiple people involved, not just Papa. Yeah. And that apparently, allegedly, that's what happened. They dumped the body, cleaned that boat up. The coast was clear. Got the body wherever they dumped it first, wherever they stashed it at. Set it out there in the water. Everybody on that island knows what happened. Damn near everybody, allegedly, everybody in that city knows what happened. That was a ritualistic revenge murder. Carmelo Anthony has a pure spirit. He saved a child's life. Worked 2 jobs, played sports, good in school, never had no issues. Nolan was the same way. Damn near the poster board child. If you've read anything about like ritualistic killings or like even on the movies, most of the times what do they usually go after to kill somebody? Oh, somebody with a pure spirit. Somebody with a pure spirit. All right? Yeah. Some of that stuff in the movies is not just entertainment. FYI. So, now I'm going to address the thing about a melanated person being with majority white people, or being the only melanated person amongst white people. I graduated from a school with literally, like I said, 2,500 of 2,500 students. Maybe 5 or 6 were black, with all the halves and quarters. I played sports. And some of those guys were very, very, very jealous of me. I was only at that school for a year and a half. But I grew up around older people. I used to sit and get paid to sharpen knives while my great grandfather cut hair. I'd sharpen his buddy's knives and stuff. So I was good at watching people and observing them, listening to them, and not saying a damn thing. It was I wouldn't say a lot, but the guys that were jealous of me were very jealous of me. And when we had our graduation parties, that's when they, kind of let the cat out of the bag. No crazy stuff, but they revealed it to me in more than one way. But the white guys that I consider friends, I'm Facebook friends with one of them. And this guy was, these guys were like trying to jump me after a basketball game. And he literally got his jaw broke. Kind of, I guess, defending me. Yeah, I mean, real true. I mean, I had some guys, and I still consider them friends to this day. I'm talking about 10 toes down to this day. Yeah. One guy I lived with before I reported in for 2 days in college because my aunt was acting stupid and tripping. Kicked me out of the house and just, So I really have true white friends. Maybe because my personality is so strong, and a fake friend won't, they're not gonna make it too long with me. Maybe that's it. But whatever the reason is, they are true friends. And they would have never let me go anywhere they would have thought I was unsafe. Not by myself. So hopefully people can stop saying Nolan's friends. They weren't Nolan's friends. None of them attended his funeral. None of them. Friends don't do that. Matter of fact, even acquaintances will at least drop a card off or at the funeral, or, like an acquaintance will go to your funeral. So I don't ask people much, but can you please stop calling them friends? Because they're not friends. Just as D.L. Hughley said, they're not friends. Those are not friends. That's them trying to control a narrative. No. So now we have an issue with our children, our melanated children, into all white events, areas, festivities, whatever the case may be. And matter of fact, they just had a kid. He seemed to be a unique learner up in New York. Big guy. He looked to be at least about 6'2", maybe 6'3", from the distance between his head and the Ring camera as he left his home. Him and his mom had gotten to an argument, and she thought that he was gonna walk away and blow off steam and come back home, apparently, which is what he's done a few times. And 2-3 days later, he was found in the water, drowned, dead. And somebody said something about, well, autistic kids tend to be attracted to water. All kids that are unique learners are not autistic. And I don't believe all autistic kids are attracted to water. Because autistic kids are individuals. They like and dislike different things. And I hope that mother gets a very thorough autopsy, because I've worked with people from upstate New York, and I've done some research and read some things, and there's a lot of racism up there in upstate New York. It's kind of a almost suburban / rural area up there. There's a movie called Ghost Dog, and towards the end of the movie, he approached some hunters that were in upstate New York, and they had killed a bear, and they immediately turned on him. Like, oh, we'll get us 2 of them. So, and like I said before, what some things in movies are not just entertainment. So, hopefully that lady, and my heart goes out to her also, hopefully she gets a thorough autopsy done. And she was saying, thank the community. The community came together. Don't thank your community so quick. Because apparently that was a pattern with you and your son. That was the way he cooled off. And people that notice patterns are usually people that are familiar with you and are close to you. Hopefully it's not. But hopefully she gets a thorough autopsy done. Back to our melanated kids in white areas, or I'm going to just say sharing air with white people as a very small percentage of representation in the area. This seems to be a pattern. And I personally think we need to keep to ourselves. Throughout our history as Aboriginal Indian people of this land, nobody has ever been our friends. Everybody turned on us. That's how we lost this land. Broken treaties. The war has never not been up on us. The French and Indian War is still going on because we are the Indians. And I think we need to stay to ourselves, solidify ourselves, protect ourselves. And any demographic of ethnicity that has a problem with that are the problem. Because if you are a true righteous person, then you will respect that and you will understand that instantly, what I just said. And you will support that. If you don't, you are the problem. I worry about kids, period. And this shitstorm that we are thickly in right now. And I truly think we really need to solidify ourselves. Because a lot of us need to still find ourselves. Many of us are so busy trying to appease other demographics of people when none of them have ever tried to appease us. As a whole. My heart goes out to both sets of parents for Carmelo Anthony. Hopefully the ancestors will work it out and that fella will be free soon. And we need to protect his parents. His parents are actually from Louisiana. We need to protect them at all costs. We need to protect Nolan Wells' family. His siblings, his mother, his father, at all costs. It's time that we truly love ourselves. You know, when Bob Marley would often say, love conquers all. People would overstand it. Not very many people would understand it. We have to love ourselves. And if y'all made it to the end, I appreciate it. I just really felt just, as a person of no entertainment status, I just wanted to just get it off my chest. And I've been thinking about it. And, it's both instances are near and dear to me. Um, and all of the, all of all of my people that have been hung and killed by the police, murdered unjustly. You are in my heart. Y'all be safe and be cool.